There's probably all sorts of things on the Excel menus that you never use. You maybe don't even notice that they're there. If you've got the 360 version of Excel, they can update it without you realizing what just appeared that didn't used to be there. So you might have Power Query and you don't even realize it. This video is going to give you an overview of what Power Query is. Now, I've got some fake data here. I have 2 sheets in a workbook of fake data. This is fake student data that tells what grade they're in, a student ID, who their homeroom teacher is, and then in the other sheet I've got the teachers, their room number, and a badge color. I've just made this up to have some different data to do something with for examples. And I didn't name these tabs because I wanted it to be part of the video, because it's very important when you're using Power Query that you name your tabs in a way that you can keep track of what's happening. So I'm going to name this one Original Student Data. And I will name this tab, when you double click, you can type over and rename. We'll name this Original Teacher Data. So let's go to our Original Student Data, and up here on the menu on the Data tab, we're going to create a Power Query. Now to do that, click anywhere in your data. Your data needs to be in a table. So click in your data and then go up here on the Data tab from Table Range, and Excel will guess where your data is, and it's a pretty good guesser, but make sure it's right. And this is so, and my table has headers. So when I say OK, we just entered the world of Power Query. See, it's the same data, but it looks like you're not even in Excel anymore. It looks a little bit scary, but this is so easy, and it is so powerful. So what's going to happen, we're going to work with this data. This is exactly the data that was in that spreadsheet. We're going to do the cleaning. We're going to do formulas here. And then when we're done, it creates a new page in the workbook of the new data. So we need to name this. It comes out as Table 1. This is going to be a new tab in the Excel spreadsheet. And this is where your naming stuff comes very important, so you don't later forget which is which. So this is the Student Data Power Query. Let's just do PQ. So we had our original student data, and this is going to produce the Student Data Power Query page. Now we haven't done anything to the data yet, but I want you to know where this is going, because it's easier to follow if you know where we're headed. So I'm going to go ahead and close this over here on the Home tab, which is what it came open in. At the far top left is Close and Load. So if we click that, we want to choose the top one because we're just going to close and load. So if we do that, what happens is this creates another page in the workbook, and it has the name that we gave the Power Query. And you have this menu over here, which you can, it will show you all the Power Queries that you create if you make more than one, or you can close it just to get it out of your way. So now I'm going to show you just a basic concept here. If we go to the original student data here, and let's say you just discovered that Williams is not the homeroom teacher of student 1, it is Hooper. So we change that to Hooper and go to Data, Refresh All. And then over here, it automatically changed the Power Query to Hooper. So if you change your original data, the Power Query is going to update automatically. So here we are in the Power Query, and you can do all kinds of things. I'm just going to show you a few things that you can do. If you click on a column up here, if it's an alphanumeric, it says ABC. This is a numeric, alphanumeric, it actually would say ABC 1, 2, 3. This is alpha. And so when we right click, we get this menu, go to transform. You can trim, and see it keeps track of what all you've done over here. You can clean, so you don't have to write the formula in Excel to clean and trim. Trim takes out invisible characters. Clean takes out, no, it takes out extra spaces. If people are hand entering the data, they often put a space at the end, which messes up your data. Clean takes out invisible characters. And now this will automatically, these steps will automatically happen when you put new data in the original data file. So we've cleaned, we've trimmed. With the numeric, you get different choices. If you work a lot with data sets, you use VLOOKUP a lot to merge more than one set of data together. And it's super handy, but it can be very cumbersome where you got to get the dollar signs in the right place and count how many columns, etc. You can do the equivalent of VLOOKUP in Power Query, super easy. So I'm going to walk you through that. So to do the equivalent of a VLOOKUP, we're going to look up from one Power Query into the other. So we need close out of here, close and load. And let's go to our teacher data. This is where we're going to look up into. So we need to make a Power Query of this. Click anywhere in the table, go to data, table range. And now this becomes a Power Query. Named Table 3. We are going to change the name to Teacher Power Query, PQ. So close and load out of here. And we want to be in the student data PQ because that's where we're going to add a column that gives the homeroom number and the badge number. And rather than use VLOOKUP, which we could do with the writing a formula, we're going to use Power Query. So we need to click in here, go to your query menu, and edit. Okay, now we are back in Student Data Power Query. So here on the Home tab, what we want to do is merge queries. We get the option of as new to get a new page or just where it sits. Let's choose that. Doesn't really matter. So here, this is our student data PQ, and we want to merge it with this. If we had more queries, we would be able to choose. And now just select the column you want to match. We want homeroom to match on teacher. And we have other choices where we don't want a fuzzy match. I don't think I've ever wanted a fuzzy match. And it tells us that it's going to match on all 44 rows. And see, when you click OK, you get a new column that says Teacher PQ at the top, and it's got this little icon on the right. When you click on that, it gives you every column as a choice, every column out of the Teacher PQ. And what we want is a new column with the room number and a new column with the badge. If we left teacher checked, we'd have yet another column with the teacher name. We don't want that. So you just choose from here, and we've got, and see, we had checked the box, use Teacher PQ, then you know where the data came from. You didn't have to do that. We could have, oh, let me show you. See, when you're actually doing things with the data, when you clean and trim, that's a done deal. But something like this, where we created a new variable, you get a gear over here. If you click on the gear, you can change your mind on what you did. And you can do that at any time. Column prefix name, you change that. Let's say we don't want any prefix name. So now it's just room. And you can do that anytime. Go back and edit what you've done. And see, we've got the badge color. So it's the equivalent of a VLOOKUP without all the work. And you can go back and change it anytime. So let's go back to the workbook by close and load. See, it takes a minute, but it updates with our new variables. Now let's say you get new data. I just want to make sure that you understand the value of this. Let's add a student 46. Grade 3, male. Let's make teacher 6. Algebra. Let's give her a 99. Oh, it's a he. And let's put Smith. Okay, so student 46 is new. We just added to the original data. Let's go to data, refresh all. See, it's refreshing. And sure enough, student 46 is here, and it cleaned it and trimmed it, and it brought in 37 in orange for Smith. So all of the work is automatically done if you add new data or replace your old data. It goes through all the steps for you. Now I wanted to keep this short, but I want to show you one more thing. Let's go back into the student data power query. So click anywhere. You can double click over there. That's how I'll get there. Or you could go up to the menu. Lots of ways to get there. And let's say we want to add a variable that is going to tell us whether the student is in elementary, middle, or high school based on what grade they're in. That you could write a complicated formula in Excel, but in here we can go to, we are going to add a column. So choose the add a column menu, and it's going to be conditional based on what grade they're in. So let's call it level and say if grade level equals, I think my students here are from grade 4 to 12. So if for elementary, etc. So I just kept adding a clause by clicking that button until I get them all done. Grade level equals 12 high. And then say OK. And you've got a new variable, and it assigns a value based on what grade they're in. So, and it tells you over here you added a conditional column. And let's say you find out a month from now that 5th grade is middle school where you're working. You just click there, go back in here, change that to middle, and they will all change. Go to the Home tab, close and load. And now you've got another variable. So take a look at all the menu choices. Like here's split column. You can split by delimiter, by number of characters, position, etc. You can group columns together. It's super handy, all the things that you can do. Advanced editor is where you can edit up here and do things that aren't a menu choice if you can figure out the code, which isn't very hard actually. But anyway, Power Query will change your life.